Hello and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This midweek episode, we'll be looking at the new, 10.2.7 patch. It has just been released, essentially, on EU servers. It's been out for a day, or not even a day because of maintenance, really, for NA. But yeah, we'll be looking at it, what it brings, what is in the near future. We'll be looking at Cataclysm Classic as well, all of them bits and bobs. What I do want to say first, actually, is although NA get their reset day a day early, usually if it's a long maintenance, there is either a lot of bugs or the maintenance is very, very long. Like, very long. It usually says like 3 a.m. till 11 a.m. for EU. I'm not sure what it is for NA, but I'm pretty sure it's during the day for them. And usually it is around that 6, 7, 8 hour like maintenance period that it is down for. Whereas EU, we get the exact same patch, but all the bugs have been figured out. You know, the patch rolls out relatively smoother than the NA side. But yeah, that is just something that I thought about to myself right now, and I was like, oh, actually, yeah, we don't have it too bad. It's still quite annoying when you have like race to world first and stuff, though, because there is a team that is at a disadvantage, essentially. Although you can see it as an advantage when, like, oh, you can see what, strats these teams are doing and all that, but you're an entire day behind. It's really rough, and especially if it goes into the second week, because the NA teams get more gear, essentially. But that's besides the point. I'm going off on a tangent there. So, the 10.2.7 patch has just been dropped. It is called Darkheart. Now, what the Darkheart patch essentially is it's setting up the War Within. So, you have, this doesn't set up the War Within, but you have Mists of Pandaria and Time Walking. That releases next week in this patch. It's in the patch, essentially, but next week, you can check your calendar, it is going to be active, and you can delve into that. And what Mists of Pandaria, Time Running Pandemonium Pandaria, is that the best way to say it? I don't know, it might be. Best way that I can describe it is, essentially, you're going back to Pandaria, you're going to start at level 10, and you can level through Pandaria. And you can do this for a few months. You have certain items that increase your XP gain, all of that stuff. But this is purely for transmog. You are more than welcome to get your transmog appearances from Pandaria. And there's even more appearances that you might not have ever seen, because they were in the game files but never released in the game itself. So you have different coloured weapon models. So different weapon colour of swords, bows, axes, maces, all of that stuff, different color set armor, which is really, really cool as well. So that releases next week, and that is going to be ongoing for a few months, if I'm not mistaken. I think it goes on for until at least August, if I remember the calendar in my own head. Harbinger quests. Now, what the Harbinger quests are essentially, I'm going to try and do this in the most non-spoily way possible, but they are the quests that set up the War Within. They take you towards certain characters that are going to be lore-specific in the War Within, and they are very important for setting up these sort of things. Blizzard released a short story, like a short comic almost, on a couple characters on Illyria. And essentially, these comics show a lot of lore. You don't have to buy them. You can simply go onto Wowhead and you can find where they are on the Wowhead website. And you download a PDF and you just read it there. It is a short story, sort of a short comic. They are very, very good. And I would very much recommend them because they are written really well. And they do give you a lot of insight as to what a character is going through, and they are very important to what you see in the War Within, is the best way to describe it without giving many sort of spoilery hints away. You can, for these Harbinger quests, get certain transmog appearances as well. There is one which is really spoily, so I'm not going to spoil that one. But you can get some void appearances of certain items. I think you get like a purple flail, a like voidy offhand. You even get a manuscript for your Drake to turn it into a void colored Drake, which is really, really cool, and it's one of the best things that you can get there. But the best thing is the one thing that I can't tell you what you can get because it will spoil. I would just very much recommend doing it because it is a very cool transmog if you are able to use the mog. Troll and Draenei Heritage Armor. Now, I have yet to do any of the Heritage Armor. I have yet to see any of the questlines for this. I don't actually have any Draenei. I know people who do, so I'm going to be reaching out to them and seeing if I can watch them do the Heritage Armor, essentially. But I've heard that the questlines are really, really good. I've heard that they are spectacular, to be honest, because all of the heritage questlines usually are. They're all going back over old content and content that is very unique to their race, obviously. So with humans, their heritage armor was all based around Onyxia and, the Defias Brotherhood and stuff like that, and finding out that Onyxia's, like, the neck piece that you use to get into Onyxia's lair back in Vanilla WoW still had some power, and people were being corrupted by it and stuff like that. So you had to go and figure that out with Mr. Shaw and Vanessa Van Cleef, and, all of that stuff. And all of these heritage armor stuff are really, really cool. I would really recommend doing them if you have the races that can do them, such as Draenei and Troll this time. I think we've had Human, we've had Gnome, we've had Dwarf. Yeah, we've had loads. I think there's more heritage armor than there isn't at the moment, which is really, really cool. And again, lore-wise, it does have a lot of lore tied to them, these like heritage armor quest lines. So very much recommend. Plus, everyone likes a good mog set, so it is what it is. And there are new holiday events. Now, we obviously don't know anything about this yet, but the holiday events that are happening before the pre-patch, I believe, are the Fire Festival. I think that's the only one, really. Yeah, I believe that's the only one. Hallow's End might be happening in the War Within pre-patch, if I'm not mistaken. I think we might be getting it around there. No, Halloween would be like during the War Within. Yeah. Okay, so I think it is only Midsummer Fire Festival. We don't know what it entails. We haven't seen much of it. But, the holiday events have been good so far. The Christmas, the Valentine's one. What are the others? The Lunar Festivals. They've all been very good and very updated to recent times, which is very nice to see because for those who actually enjoy these sort of little holiday events, it's a nice update for them as they haven't had any updates since 2004, essentially. So, it's about time, essentially, they got looked into. Going into what's next. So, if you take a look at the roadmap, you can simply do this by typing World of Warcraft roadmap. Dark Heart is the very last patch before the pre-patch. Now, Season 4 was before Dark Heart. Season 4 released 2 weeks ago. Okay? The Alpha released a week before Season 4, and Plunderstorm was the patch before that. Plunderstorm, when did Plunderstorm release? I think March? Yeah, about March time. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible how quickly we're getting these, like, patches rolled out, essentially. It's really close. We are very, very close to the War Within pre-patch. Before the War Within pre-patch, though, there is the War Within beta. Now, Alpha is currently at Hallowfall. Is it Hallowfall or Hollowfall? Hallowfall? I'm going to go with Hallow. They are currently at that stage within the Alpha. When they go to the final zone in the Alpha, I think that's when they'll switch it to a beta. And in my opinion, we will be getting the beta within the next couple weeks. Maximum next couple weeks, in my honest opinion. I think that there will be a massive influx into the beta to see what's happening, to see, you know, the hero talents, to see as many sort of bugs as we can so that they can get it fixed for the pre-patch and then finally the War Within. We are looking at a very early War Within schedule. We are looking at essentially maybe July release. In my honest opinion, it should be a July or August release. I think I'm going to go with the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to go with an early July release. Yeah, I'm putting my money on that. That's where my money's going. I think that they will want to get it out as early as possible, because it shows the player base kind of what's happening, and, you know, a good idea of, you know, we really want to make this game better. We're sorry for Shadowlands and BFA, stuff like that. We want to get it back on that Legion sort of, you know, content release cycle. And yeah, that's where I think we're at in terms of like July release. You're going to have a June pre-patch, like mid to late June pre-patch. I think it's going to be amazing, because if you have a look at people who have the alpha right now, it looks quite done, to be honest. It looks very clean, in my honest opinion, and I don't think that's far off of being in a beta stage, let alone actually releasing the expansion as a whole. So who knows? Hopefully we'll get to see the War Within a bit more in the beta. Hopefully a lot of people get the beta and get sort of access to it to try and, you know, bug out the game, to try and mess around with certain things. But who knows? Going on to Cataclysm, we are currently in the pre-patch event, which, by the way, there is no pre-patch event. Did anyone else notice that? There's some fire around Azeroth, but there isn't actually stuff to do around Azeroth, which is quite funny. They kind of just skipped that pre-patch event, which, okay, fine. I'm not too bothered about it. It would have been nice to have. But Cataclysm will release, as we all know, in a couple weeks' time, as of when this goes out, essentially. Is it a couple weeks? Yeah, just under a couple weeks now, I believe. After Cataclysm is released, we have Season of Discovery, and then we're looking at very quick succession, like raid releases, like every couple months. So it is Rise of Zandalari, and then it's Rage of the Firelands, and then Season of Discovery has more endgame content updates, and then it will be Dragon Soul. Now, they are wanting to complete Cataclysm within a year. And have Mists of Pandaria come out next year's summer, essentially. I think we'll be looking at, honestly, a May release when Cataclysm comes out. Like May next year, Mists of Pandaria release. I think that's how quickly they'll want to get through Cataclysm, because a lot of people have negative thoughts on Cataclysm. I personally think it's quite enjoyable. I think that it's a decent expansion. It's not up there with the best. It's not down there with the worst. I think it's just very different, and people don't like the change. That's all it is. I think that Cataclysm is going to be a bigger success than TBC, and that's just my personal opinion. I think that Mists of Pandaria, a lot of people will be coming back for it. Classic at the moment is not what people wanted it to be, because they all wanted to just stay in vanilla forever. Personally, not my type of thing. I think that it's very good that they're going forward with the older expansions. Classic is still there in Classic era servers, which is fine because people can go back to it when they want. I probably will go back to it eventually. In like a year or two's time, if the Classic era servers are still there, I'll probably go back and level something, because I have a very enjoyable memory of leveling during that time, and I like the simplicity of the game. Classic is very much built off of nostalgia, though. That's it. Gameplay mechanics-wise and the fundamentals of the game are not, excuse me, up to scratch, essentially, because in raiding, you're only pressing one button. Frostbolt for mages, or Fireball if you're fire, Heroic Strike, Cleave, Bloodthirst. You're not doing a lot, are you? Sinister Strike, Eviscerate. Yeah, it's not really engaging or fundamentally, perfect, is it? So, Classic, in my opinion, is built off of nostalgia. But what they are doing with Cataclysm and moving forward is building it off of the expansions that have been. Because people who start late, and I will always say this as the argument, people who start late in World of Warcraft, I know people who have started in BFA, they never get to experience, Legion or Mists of Pandaria or Warlords of Draenor. No matter how good or bad the expansion was, you still have to experience it yourself in order to know if you enjoyed it or not. Warlords of Draenor, I enjoyed, but because I was a PvP player, I didn't care that there was no PvE content. But I do in classic PvE content. So when Warlords of Draenor rocks round as classic, there's not going to be that many raids to do PvE wise, but the difference is they can squish it. So instead of, waiting 8 months for the next raid, we'll only wait like a couple because they just move that one forward a little bit. It's that kind of thing. It's not rocket science. They can fix the massive fundamentals of the game when going through Classic. And I think that's what is really good about Classic, because everyone gets to experience these expansions. If you are new to the game and you've heard, oh my god, Mists of Pandaria was absolutely amazing, it's one of the best patches or expansions in the game, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll give Mists of Pandaria a try, and you absolutely hate it, that's fine. But you have your own opinion then of the game, because it's like, I'm not too keen on Mists of Pandaria. I can see why people like it, but I'm not too keen, that kind of deal. The experience is what counts when it comes to the expansions, and not many people get to have a second chance at experiencing past expansions. Look at any other sort of MMO or any other sort of game, actually. Any game at all. If they release a DLC, that's great, but you play through the DLC and then you're done. Future DLCs do not go back to that DLC. They don't. They might have like bits and bobs from it, like characters or places in the world, but they never go back and revisit it. Classic allows you to do that, which I think is amazing, and it allows people to really get a feel for how the world has been built over these 20 years now, nearly. It's crazy. But that is where we'll end it for this episode. It's looking really promising for retail and classic from like now on. It's really, really good. But thank you all very much for listening. As always, do check out all of the socials down below. Constant stuff happening over there. Thank you all very much once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.